Welcome to the Regular Catholic Guy Show with your host, Jeff Garrett, a podcast for regular Catholic men who want to get into the trenches to learn about their Catholic faith, marriage, raising kids, and other Catholic guy stuff. Enjoy the show. Hi, Father Mark.
How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm blessed, as always.
We're all blessed beyond our possible imaginings.
And we're coming up on one of my favorite holidays. One of my two favorite holidays, and without this holiday, you couldn't have the other holiday.
This is true. This is true.
So, Father, we're coming up on Christmas as we're recording this podcast, and I'd like to talk about Christmas today. And, you know, when I think of Christmas in the secular way, I'm thinking of gifts. I'm thinking of, Santa Claus is coming. Kids are all excited.
Yeah.
It's a great time of the year because families get together.
Which is a great thing.
But is that the true meaning of Christmas, Father?
Is it the true meaning of Christmas? It can be. It can be part of it, is the thing. We have got so many Christmas traditions and things like that we do, and, you know, the families getting together and the presents and all that kind of a thing. And we enjoy them, and they're good things. But we forget so often so many of the religious origins of these things. Something as simple as a candy cane. You're like, that's the candy that you eat at Christmas time. Well, you've got the red and white stripes, the red for the blood of Jesus, the white for the forgiveness of sins that he came to bring. The shape of it is like a shepherd's staff. Or if you turn it upside down, it's a J for a Jesus.
And I read somebody just wanted to ban candy canes because of the shape of
I read that too, and I just rolled my eyes and thought, what are they going to come up with next? I remember a few years ago somebody getting upset because we were trying to Christianize Christmas.
Christianize Christmas?
Yeah, we're going to Christianize Christmas. That's not, that's
it's
just
an
not
oxymoron.
right. Yeah. Yeah. You can't have a Christian Christmas. I just keep wanting to tell these people, look, stop trying to celebrate our holiday. But apparently it's not our holiday anymore. And that in and of itself actually speaks to the power of the gospel, is that these people who don't want to have anything to do with religion still want to have Christmas. But of course they're trying to keep Jesus out of it.
Which is the reason for the season.
The whole reason for it in the first place is the incarnation. So all of these Christmas traditions that we were talking about, like the candy cane, they all derive their meaning from one event, and that was God becoming a human being. So many people say, well, I want to celebrate the true meaning of Christmas, and they say it's because it's Jesus' birthday. Okay, very good. It is.
Right.
But let's think about what that means. We're not just celebrating an ordinary birthday. We're celebrating the fact that God broke into human history, came from heaven above to earth, joined the human race, literally joined the human race, so that you and I could be saved. The idea that we needed a Savior from heaven, but it had to be a human being, but it had to be God, and God says, okay, I got this. How about if there's somebody who's both God and man? And the Father says to the Son, Son, I'm sending you. And the Son came to earth and took on a human nature. And that's the true meaning of Christmas. Pay attention to Christmas Mass in your parish. What the rubrics call for, what should happen when you recite the creed, is at the words which commemorate the incarnation, and by the Holy Spirit was incarnate of the Virgin Mary and became man. Those are the words at which at every other Sunday Mass of the year we bow. Well, on Christmas Day, we genuflect for those words. Sometimes priests invite people to do so, and sometimes they don't. But if your parish doesn't invite the congregation to do that, you hereby have my personal permission to go ahead and genuflect at those words. But the reason behind it is because those are the words which have the true meaning of Christmas. And the Word was made flesh and made his dwelling among us, as it says in John's Gospel. God became one of us. And that can be scary.
It is. It's an incredible, just to meditate on it for a period of time.
Well, here we are, sinful humanity, and our God is showing up. If we react to it the way a lot of people naturally do, we're going to be terrified. Stop and think about it for a second. When you were a kid and you were getting into mischief, who were the last people you wanted to see at that moment? Your parents, right? You don't want your parents walking in and seeing what you're up to. Well, here's God not seeing things remotely, but coming down and getting right into our mess. A lot of people are scared of that.
Well, even the thought of being born as a baby.
Isn't it something the way that God made his entrance into human history the least scary way you could possibly do it? I mean, who could possibly be scared of a baby except for my father when my diaper was dirty? I'm told that was mom's job. My father was old school in a lot of ways, and one of them was he didn't do diapers. But no, back on point, and seriously, a baby lying in a manger. Here's God come to earth, and he does it in such a way that you and I don't have to be scared.
And not only that, it's where he was born.
In a stable. And the actual stable, in our experience, we think stable, okay, and what's a stable look like in America? Well, it's a wooden building out back. That's where you keep the animals. The actual stable of Bethlehem was a cave. That's where the animals were kept. But cave, not real luxurious, and there was a manger in there, and they put the baby
a feeding trough.
A feeding trough. Well, think about that. The baby is placed in a feeding trough in the city known as the House of Bread. Do you see the Eucharist coming here somewhere?
Foreshadows it
pretty well, yeah. But then, okay, let's just imagine, okay, you're in this cave and you've got these animals, okay? And it's easy just to go, oh, well, that's beautiful. Here are these animals keeping the baby Jesus warm and having their heat warm up the cave and what have you, and worship is now think about what animals do. And the fact that they don't have any particular regard as to where they find their restroom facilities, shall we say. I'm willing to bet you that cave didn't exactly smell good. And here is where Mary is going to give birth to her baby.
And the king.
And the king, yeah. And the king chooses to come in this kind of a setting. Isn't that amazing? So when you look at I hope that everybody listening, I hope you all have a nativity scene in your home. It should be the most important Christmas decoration that you have. And I'm not saying don't put up the rest of them. Okay, I've always been of the opinion, for as far as decorating for Christmas is concerned, that the more the merrier. You remember when I was at St. Stephen's, I'd be stomping around on Christmas Eve saying, "Not enough poinsettias, not enough poinsettias." But the centerpiece of your Christmas decoration isn't the tree; it's the nativity set. You know where the nativity set came from, Joe?
Where'd it come from?
St. Francis of Assisi. And back in the 1220s, he got this idea to put up a nativity scene, but the history of it, very, very interesting. He petitioned the Pope for permission to put up a stable with hay and I think an ox and an ass.
So live animals.
Yeah, live animals. Yeah, they didn't have plastic statues back then. You couldn't just run down to your local church goods store and buy one. So yeah, live animals. And then he invited people from all around to come and view this nativity set while he preached to them. the nativity set was the visual, but there was this constant homily going on from St. Francis about the birth of the babe of Bethlehem. Apparently, he was so moved by the experience, he couldn't even pronounce the word Jesus. So he just kept referring to him as the babe of Bethlehem. Well, in your nativity set, there are so many possibilities, especially, guys, if you got kids. A nativity set is a great way to help to evangelize your children, because little people like visual stuff like that. And so, just as one suggestion, don't put the baby Jesus in until Christmas.
Yeah, we always did it that way.
Mm-hmm.
We never put Jesus in. Then everybody kind of fought for who was going to put Jesus.
Who got to put Jesus in the nativity set?
But the other thing too is you can take your wise men.
Oh, there's a good idea.
And don't put them in the nativity set, but they travel through the house.
Yeah. I mean, if you can do that elf on the shelf thing, why not do the wise men? And so, but you can even go before that. Granted, it's no longer the start of Advent. We're like halfway through. It's Gaudete Sunday this weekend, as you and I talk. But if you start in Advent, at the beginning of Advent, set up the stable with the animals in it, but don't even put Mary and Joseph in there yet. Have them somewhere in the house journeying toward the nativity set, so that they get there about December 24th in the morning, let's say. And then have them set up in there. And then you could put the baby Jesus in after you do Christmas Mass. Now he's here. And then if like in your family, Jeff, if you're going to have a competition as to who gets to put the baby Jesus in, you can even use that somehow as a method of evangelization. But then once the baby Jesus is in there, have like a Christmas light above it and light that up as the star.
The star. And
then somewhere to the east, put your wise men and have them start their journey so that they get there on Epiphany. January 6th is the traditional date, or you can just go with the date that it's celebrated liturgically, which is that second Sunday after Christmas. Beautiful opportunity to give the kids a visual as to what the Christmas story is all about. But there's all kinds of other things you can do with your nativity set too. The idea about the light above it for the, but then angels and shepherds. Somewhere a little ways away from the nativity set, set up something where you've got the shepherds and the sheep out there. And my mom was famous for this when she would take the sheep from my brother and I's little toy farms. Mm-hmm. And if you guys didn't grow up with a toy farm, obviously you didn't grow up in the Midwest. That's right. We all had one. But she would take those sheep and add to, so we had all kinds of sheep there. And then, we could, have them at some point during Christmas come to the stable.
One of the other things you can do at night is you can have the stories through the Bible.
Exactly.
And go through those stories for the coming of Christ. And also to remember that Christmas isn't over the day of Christmas.
There you go. Christmas, Christmas, first of all, has its own octave. So we're celebrating Christmas Day for 8 days until January 1st, which is the Feast of Mary, Mother of God. But then the Christmas season goes on beyond that. Now, in our day and age, the Christmas season ends with the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord. Now, if you really want to bust it old school, and if you want to have an excuse for leaving your Christmas decorations up longer, Christmas used to end on February 2nd, which is the Feast of the Presentation, Candlemas Day, the day when we celebrated Jesus being presented in the temple. But if you want to stick with the way that it's done nowadays, at least to the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord, leave your Christmas stuff up. It's one of my great pet peeves that we stop celebrating Christmas just when we should be getting cranked up for it. And it's because we spend all of Advent celebrating Christmas rather than preparing for it. And we think, okay, well, thank God Christmas is done now because I'm tired, and let's put it all away. Now, that's when the Christmas season is just getting going. And if you want to make your home about the true meaning of Christmas, celebrate the whole Christmas season, because you're going to be taking your kids to Mass, and you're going to be coming in to Mass on, say, the Feast of the Epiphany in early January. And nowhere else in the world are you going to find Christmas stuff or anything like that, but you come in for Epiphany, and we're going to be singing We Three Kings and other Christmas carols, and the Christmas decorations will still be up. And your kids will be sitting there going, but why did we take ours down? Why does the church still have it up? Why is there a difference there? Well, great opportunity to evangelize your kids. Great opportunity to help to raise them as the disciples that they're supposed to be. Leave your decorations up and tell them why. Read those stories from the Bible and read them throughout the Christmas season. Take your kids to a few daily masses, especially for the octave of Christmas, because they don't have school, and you might have a day or two off. Can you go to Christmas Mass and then also go for, say, the Feast of Stephen or the Feast of John John the Evangelist, or Holy Family, or Holy Family should be on the Sunday. Holy Innocents, I guess what I was thinking. All of these things. And then don't forget that the Feast of Mary, Mother of God, January 1st, is a holy day of obligation. You can make this season so much about our faith and not about just getting stuff and eating food and things like that. But there's so many possibilities. So many.
Well, what you see most of the time is the Christmas trees are out on the curb, if they're live Christmas trees, the day after Christmas or 2 days after Christmas. And then you start seeing the Valentine's Day stuff popping up right at the beginning of January.
Well, if that.
So it's just like, boom, it's over.
I bet you go into the stores on December 26th, you'll find Valentine's Day stuff.
Yeah, and you'll find big sales too, because a lot of people associate Christmas with Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, and then the sale of after Christmas, whenever that is.
I forget.
But that's the way a lot of people associate Christmas is shopping.
Yeah. Well, and again, there's one that has gotten out of hand. It had originally, the idea of gift giving at Christmas had a religious meaning. And it's not tough to figure out. The gifts that we give at Christmas are supposed to represent the gift of the Christ child. That God gave us his son. That was his Christmas gift to the entire world. And so when we give gifts to each other, those gifts are supposed to represent Jesus. But it's gotten way out of hand. It's gotten, the gifts are supposed to be about me showing you that I care about you and all that kind of thing. And Santa Claus. Santa Claus, another one there. Santa Claus. Santa, Saint, Claus. That's German for Nicholas.
And we just had St. Nicholas Day.
You just had it.
Hope everybody put their shoes out.
If you need some extra coal, Jeff, I have some.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I got plenty.
Oh, okay. I see St. Nicholas has been talking to your wife. But anyway, Donna, if you're listening, greetings to you. Anyway, Santa Claus, the great defender, one of the great defenders, I should say, of the truth of the fact that the Son of God was God. If that baby isn't God, there's really not a whole lot of point in celebrating his birthday 2,000 years later, especially not as big as we do. And so that's why St. Nicholas is so associated with the season, because back in his day, you had the Arian heresy was the trendy heresy of the day. That was what was happening in the church and what's happening now. No, the Son of God wasn't God. He was a creature, something created by God. So the Son is not God. Obviously, the Spirit wouldn't be God. Well, if that's true, the whole Christian religion falls apart. mean, there's no point in worshiping Christ if Christ is just a human being. And so, the legend, I don't think it's true, but it's one of those stories that has grown in church history, and I find it highly amusing. But the story is that St. Nicholas actually met Arius at one of the councils or something like that, and he was so upset with what Arius was saying, he punched him in the snoot. Now,
that's the nose.
Yeah. For those of you who don't speak the technical language. But I mean, there's no historical basis that I have ever found that story actually happened. But it gives you some idea of the reverence with which St. Nicholas is held in the church, that he was such a fierce defender of the truth of Christ's divinity that people would make up a story that says he punched Arius right in the nose. So, it gives you an idea about it. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you deny the divinity of Christ, so duck.
I hadn't heard that one before.
It's an alternate version. But yeah, so St. Nicholas, the thing I always tell kids when they ask about Santa Claus is, don't forget that Santa Claus works for Jesus. And that Santa is part of the team that we have trying to help us celebrate the birthday of Jesus. So, people who say, well, we can't have Santa Claus around because that's the secular Christmas. No, that started out as a religious symbol. Let it be a religious symbol again. Let it be St. Nicholas. Nothing wrong with that.
Here's another thing that is out there, Father, and people say, Happy Holidays. I love to say Merry Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Well, if somebody wants to say Happy Holidays to me, I thank you for that. But I'm going to respond Merry Christmas. If I know I'm talking to a Jew, I'll say Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. I don't have a problem saying that. But here's the thing: if somebody says to me Happy Holidays, if I'm feeling like making a point, I might respond, oh, and Happy Holy Days to you too. Because look at the word holidays. That's what it is.
They're holy days.
Yeah. But even saying Happy Holidays is to imply that there's something more than just December 25th. See, that would be Happy Holiday. But there's more. There's the Feast of Stephen. There's John. There's the Holy Innocents. There's my mother's birthday.
That's a holy day?
Actually, well, I don't know if it's a holy day of obligation, but she was born on the Feast of the Holy Innocents. But then you've got the Feast of Mary Mother. You've got Epiphany, and actually, in a lot of cultures, Epiphany is the big day for celebrating. Christmas Day is celebrated, but Epiphany is the one where they go all out, and that's when you exchange the gifts because of the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Yes, but never mind about the myrrh next time.
Monty Python comes back.
You knew it had to be done, didn't you?
Yes.
But so like in a lot of cultures, that'll be the day when they exchange their gifts and things like that. Because Epiphany is the day that Christmas is seen as not just a Jewish holiday, but a holiday for the whole world. Because the three wise men are the first non-Jews to come and worship the king. And so this is the Gentiles showing up. And so that's why in a lot of cultures it's the Epiphany that they celebrate, because that's the day we showed up. But anyway, getting back to the idea, that is included in the idea of happy holidays. So when somebody wishes you happy holidays, rather than being offended, let that be a reminder to you that there's more to Christmas than December 25th. And, use that as a way to evangelize your family or to evangelize others. Happy holidays, happy holy days. Yes, there are several of them, not just December 25th. Of course, I'm sure that's not the conversation the person wants to get into, but oh well.
So what other traditions have you seen, Father, would you recommend?
There's so many of them. I'll tell you about a few of them that my family always did. Well, first of all, the family getting together, so very, very important, because Christ came to reunite the human race. Well, we got to start with our families. But, we would always get together at my grandparents' farm over in Carroll County, Iowa. And Grandma laid on a spread of Christmas treats and things like that. We'd play Christmas music. Still, to this day, very important. Even though my Christmas celebration has dwindled to my mother and me, because all the rest of them are dead. So they show up, but we don't
in a different way.
In a different way. We don't have to buy them presents anymore and things like that. We still do a lot of the traditions that we did when there was a big crowd. Example, my father, who was not a particularly religious man. I always said that my mother was Catholic and my father went to the coffee shop. He became Catholic literally about 20 minutes, half hour before he died, when my mother baptized him as he was dying of a heart attack. Beautiful story. For Christmas, he had this sweatshirt that he wore every year, bright red sweatshirt with a picture of like the Nutcracker from Tchaikovsky and all that kind of thing. Anyway, the picture of the Nutcracker and holly and ivy and whatever, and then it said in German, it said "Merry Christmas, Fröhliche Weihnachten," or my apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. He wore that every year on Christmas. That it was the infallible sign of the holiday. You walked in, you saw Dad wearing that, you knew it was Christmas. Well, my dad died. This will be our third Christmas without him. He died in October of 2016. So ever since then, I've been wearing that sweatshirt on Christmas. So, little things like that. German Christmas carols, because my last name might be Scottish, but I'm about 2/3 German. My mother's 100% German. My dad was somewhere in the quarter to a half range. His mother was a Metzler, and then you don't get much more German than Metzler. But we always had to play German Christmas carols, and I would be in charge of putting it on the old LPs, because some of these you can't get on CD or MP3 or whatever the current one is. But we had a few favorite German Christmas carols, and so you put that on, and my dad would sit there because he was actually better with the German language than my mom was, and he just loved to sit there and follow along with the lyrics to Stille Nacht and all the rest of them.
And Father's talking about the vinyl things that go on a turntable that maybe some of you know and some of you don't
might
know.
Not. That's right.
But I hear they're coming back.
Well, I see them in stores again, and what's ironic is they are far more expensive than any of the rest of the media out there. But yeah, we would play the German, and then a tradition that started here. Oh, I think we've probably been doing it for about 20 years. Is somewhere in there you got to play Handel's Messiah. Handel's Messiah. Everybody thinks of it and they think the Hallelujah Chorus. Okay, which is incredibly moving. But if you listen to the whole thing and you hear the Hallelujah Chorus in the context of the entire oratorio, it's even more so. Because it's simply Handel setting to music various quotes from the Bible about the life and death of Jesus. Sit and listen to the music in and of itself is some of the most beautiful. I went to a seminary with a guy who had been a music major in his pre-seminary days, and he considered the Messiah to be an literally divinely inspired piece of music. So I mean, the music itself is beautiful. The texts that Handel chose are amazing. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. Just to listen to that one, it moves you. It moves you, and it gets you really into the idea of this is God breaking into human history. So we would always music was very important in our Christmas celebration. And while my grandfather was still alive, and of course we've kept this going since he died, you had to have a little Bing Crosby. and everybody thinks of White Christmas. But, Bing does a beautiful job on Silent Night and a lot of the Christmas music. And I don't have a problem with the secular Christmas music so long as it's in the context of the religious holiday. What's wrong with singing, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas when it's understood that Christmas is all about the incarnation? So, we had to have a little Bing Crosby and it's on and on like that.
And then there's the cookies or the desserts. And then it's the holiday meal. There's usually some sort of meal that people traditionally have.
And that is the traditions of it is so strong and so important. I mean, in our family, it's ham. When we were still going to grandma's, we started doing ham when we were staying home after my grandparents weren't hosting Christmas anymore because they got to be elderly and things like that. But I forget what it was at grandma's house. But I do remember we all sat in the same place around the table, and it was kind of the same thing at Christmas now when we would have it in Blair with just my family, my immediate family. We'd have ham because my mother worked for the Fort Calhoun Stone Company, and the boss there, the guy who owned it, was a very, very generous man, a very, very devout Catholic, and he gave all of his employees as a Christmas gift a ham, and it wasn't a small ham either, a good-sized ham. And it wasn't a cheap one. It was a good quality ham. And so part of the tradition is that we'd sit down around the table and we'd be passing the food around, things like that. And every time my father would reach for the ham, he would have to say, "Ham, what am?" Don't ask me why. He just did every year. But those traditions, they take on a life of their own. And they're one of the ways that we say, hey, it's Christmas.
Might be the games that you play, might be the movies that you watch, as you were talking about, the music you listen to. But those are all part of traditions. And one of the things that you could do is you could share with us on the website what your family traditions are.
We'd love to hear what they are. And, other guys will be reading what your traditions are and maybe get some ideas, and you can get some ideas from them.
Maybe start some new ones.
Yeah. When my brother and I were kids, my uncle, my mom's older brother, who was a lifelong bachelor, one year for Christmas gave my brother a Monopoly game. And that started the Christmas tradition. Oh, it's a great game. That started the Christmas tradition. After dinner, my brother and my uncle and I would sit down and we'd play a rousing game of Monopoly. We had some fun with that. And, I still talk about the year that my uncle beat my brother and I both, wiped us out in like 15 minutes.
That's a fast Monopoly game. That's
about the fastest, but it was just one of those games. He landed on all the properties and we landed on the wrong ones after he landed on the right ones, and it was over. So I think we might have played a second game that year, but we enjoyed it. That was part of our Christmas tradition. It's always amazing to me how strongly those traditions are woven into our fabric. Like my dad's Christmas sweatshirt. The first year that we had Christmas and he was gone, I remember, I'd said my last mass for the day, got back to my folks' house in Blair, and of course it was just me and my mom, and I just remember going, "Where's Dad's sweatshirt?" And of course it was right there, and so I put it on, we couldn't have Christmas without that sweatshirt. The one I remember. This wasn't my family. This was a kid I taught in high school. I told this story, I think, when we did our series on the Mass and the importance of ritual and things like that. But this young lady in my class was talking about the way her family celebrated Christmas, and it was a 2-night affair. Christmas Eve, which was the Italian feast at one grandma's house, and then Christmas Day was the seafood at the other grandparents' home. And she loved the Italian food, but she didn't much care for the seafood stuff. A kid after my own heart. But I asked her, okay, what part of your Christmas ritual would you not eliminate at any price. What has to happen? She said the seafood thing.
I said, you scratching your head.
Yeah, I literally. You can see the bald spot. There used to be hair there. This is why I'm glad this is a podcast and not a video. I said, but you hate that because she said, yeah, but if we didn't do it, it wouldn't be Christmas. Like, wow. Well, and this was a teenager. She's now, I think she's a teacher herself. But if you can get a teenager to sit through something that they find boring and hate the food and all that kind of a thing, it must have some powerful meaning.
It's a tradition.
It is. And then all of these traditions, just the whole idea of a Christmas meal is a religious tradition. We're Catholics. We celebrate, we even call our celebration days feasts. You got to have a feast. Or if you're from the Spanish speaking, you have a fiesta. A feast. You've got to have the Christmas meal. And
begin it with grace.
You begin it with grace, and you let the spirit of grace permeate the whole thing. It's not a short story. The little novel Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens, not a religious, overtly not a religious story in any way, shape, or form. At the end, when Scrooge changes, and he's going to start doing things differently, two of the biggest things he does when he changes involve a feast. One, he buys the biggest Christmas goose or whatever it was and has it sent to Bob Cratchit. Mm-hmm. And two, he goes to his nephew Fred's for their Christmas meal for the first time. That's how we celebrate. We have a feast. Well, that Christmas feast is so important. And if like I said, if a teenager will eat food she doesn't like just because it's the Christmas feast, that should tell you something. But the main thing, I guess, the main thing about all of this is there are so many traditions about Christmas, and every one of them has a religious connection. Every one of them has a connection to the true meaning of Christmas, which is God has joined the human race. We have a Christmas feast because now God can eat. Did you ever stop and think about that? Before Jesus, God didn't need food. God was a spirit. Now God can eat.
Jesus ate with the disciples and the night before his
most important sacrament that he left us was food and drink. Mm-hmm. So feast, especially at Mass. Feast on the Eucharist. But then go home and have a Christmas feast at your home with whatever food you're going to eat. And the gifts, Here's a representation of the gift of Jesus. Santa Claus, St. Nicholas defending the truth of the fact that Christ was God, and bringing gifts to people to help celebrate that. And if you can attach that kind of meaning to stuff, then you don't need to go so overboard with getting the biggest and the fanciest gifts for your kids and all that kind of a thing. What you're doing is, here's a gift. Let this remind you that Jesus Christ is a gift to you. And if you get the kids young and get them in that mentality, they will have a lifetime of blessed Christmases.
And they'll know truly what the reason for the season is.
There you go.
God bless and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
If you enjoyed the show, share it with your friends and relatives. Go to Apple Podcasts, give us a review and a rating. It'll help us to reach more men. We also have a Facebook and Instagram page, Regular Catholic Guy. God bless.